EDIUS produces great quality real-time slow motion. Let's take a look at some of the options here. First of all, I've got two clips on my timeline. One's got this really nice crash through the sand, and then another shot just after it. And I wanted to draw your attention to this. These two clips are right next to each other on the timeline, because we're going to look at an option that will or will not move this other clip out of the way. So I'm going to right click on this Denso 4x4 shot, and down on the menu I've got time effect, and I've got speed and time remap. I've also got a freeze frame option and the option to control what happens with the fields in my media, but actually the default options for this are pretty much right every time you do slow motion anyway, so I won't worry about that for now. So if I go to speed, I've got some very simple controls. I can choose a forwards or backwards direction, I can choose a new rate, and if I want, I can choose whether adjusting the playback speed is or is not going to change the clip duration on the timeline. I've got a quick shortcut here to the field option as well, which just takes me through to the same place as the other field option menu. So if I click and drag here, you'll notice as I diminish the speed that the duration is increasing, and that's pretty logical because if the clip plays back slower, it's going to take longer to finish playing back. So if I click OK, you'll notice this has changed the duration of the clip, and it's actually trimmed over the top of this other clip. So we're actually slightly into the shot already now. It hasn't pushed it out of the way, it's actually trimmed over the top. And here if I undo, I'm pressing Ctrl Z, I'm going to go to insert mode, right click, time effect, speed, set that. I'll just type in 50% because it's already highlighted, press the enter key, and this time it hasn't trimmed over the top. So this mode on the timeline, which is very, very important anyway, whether you're in the overwrite or insert mode, will change what happens to the subsequent clip on the timeline if there is one, just so you're aware. Now, when you are changing playback speed in any nonlinear editing system, it's generally a good idea to make the new speed an even multiple based on the original number of frames per second. Doing that makes it easy for the editing system to redistribute the visual information between the new number of fields or frames. And if I just click along a little bit, let's have a look. This is the Denso clip, so Denso 4x4. I'll just scroll over in my asset bin and I can see this is 25 frames per second media. So if I go to 50%, that's fine because it can just double up, or if I went to 20%, that would be okay because it can just use 5 frames for each new second. I suppose you can work out the maths. Where the playback speed controls get really interesting in EDIUS is in the time remapping feature. I'm going to right click on this clip and I'm going to go to time effect and time remap. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that I've left this on 50% speed. I'm going to begin with having less than 100% speed so that I can really dive into the clip and speed up and slow down to my heart's content later on. Along the top, we've got the timeline itself, so you can see the numbers matching there with the clip in the background. And at the bottom, we've got the clip. And although many people don't spot this when they first see the interface, there's a keyframe at the very beginning and at the very end. And there's a relationship between the part of the clip and the part of the timeline. If I want to change that relationship, I can add a keyframe. And you see here, I've got this moment as I drag through this mini timeline. In fact, let's go for this point here, just there when the truck hits the sand. So I'm going to move this keyframe over at the top and the bottom. So we'll have a keyframe right about there. And then I'm going to add another keyframe, just clicking this button at the top. And I'm going to drag in the line at the bottom and drag over the keyframe at the top. So what I'm doing now is I'm saying, for this part of the clip, I want you to take this long, which is slightly long. In fact, we could probably go normal speed with that. And then for this section of the clip, I want you to take much longer. I want you to be a lot slower. And you can see if I play this back, there's a little play button at the top of the time remap window. Pretty much normal speed, and then slow, and then we're pretty much back to normal speed again. So all you need to do is position these keyframes very carefully in order to get this slow motion, graduated speed control. If I wanted to add some drama here afterwards, I can just pull in this end keyframe and speed up this third section. So we've got pretty much normal speed, slow here, and then a much shorter period of time for this third section of the clip. So if I now play, it's slow, and then we're going to go much faster to the end. So you can use this for sports footage, you can use it for anything where there's movement to get a little bit of extra drama. I'm a big fan of undo because it means you can experiment and try things out and change your mind later. So don't forget there's an initialize button at the top right of the time remap window. You can always reset all these controls if you want. And I say you can use this for anything with drama. I've got a piece at the beginning of the timeline here. This is a little micro short produced for a feature film project I'm working on. And you can see we've got a guy comes and sits down on a bench, and it's kind of dramatic. He puts a gun down and the other guy takes the gun. And I've introduced a track in using the layouter in EDIUS. Very straightforward. I just introduced some keyframes to zoom into the picture. You have to be a little bit careful about how far you go because you can get some softening if you go too large. But I've also, you'll see if I right click and go into time effect and time remap, I've introduced a whole series of keyframes around this action when they put the gun down on the bench. And I'll show you the before and after. I'm going to disable by clicking on the enable button here in the time remap panel. And you can see when this guy sits down, he sits down on the bench. The track in, and there we go. It's not really that dramatic, is it? I'll just pull the level down on the music a little bit more. I'm holding down the shift key here and I'm clicking on this rubber band to pull it down a little bit more. So now if I go back in, time remap, and all I've done is mess around with this a little bit, have a little bit of a play. I'm going to enable this. Coincidentally, if you have not used the whole original clip, if you click on full range, EDIUS will allow you to use the handles, the unused parts of the media, inside this interface. So you can pull in additional content if you want to, especially if you're playing other sections fast. It can help you to fill out the duration you need on the timeline. I don't really need that though. I'm going to click OK, and then you just have a look at the difference here. Really slow as he picks his hand up, and then slow, and we're away. So we're actually introducing different drama within the scene based on people's performances. You can change quite a lot in an actor's performance by adjusting the speed that they move. So that's working with the speed adjustment and time remapping in EDIUS.